Call to order this meeting of the Village of Ashcroft Council for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. Mayor and Council wish to acknowledge the meeting today is held within the traditional territory of the Inkakapa people. We have are there any additions to deletions from the agenda? No. In that case, we have the minutes of the regular meeting held on Tuesday, October the 1st. Councilor Clement?
I will move that the minutes of the regular meeting of Council held Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Anstead. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That is carried. Delegations. We are pleased to welcome Mr. Jack Keogh to the podium. Mr. Keogh, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I understand you have 10 minutes, and then
Questions?
so if I talk really fast, just have to bear with me. But just before I start, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Jack Keogh. I'm the chairperson of Yellowhead Community Services Society. Previously, I was the CEO, and that was kind of part of our transition, was for me to go on the board of directors as we hired our new leadership team. So I just wanted to give you that background. Also, Wendy is on our board of directors for Yellowhead as well too. So, you thought she was just coming to another meeting. Because we have regional representation from Lytton and Lillooet and this area, and then of course Clearwater area as well too. So let me begin by so Yellowhead Community Services is the operator for the system, the Ashcroft system, which half of the various municipalities, Clinton, Ashcroft. And I guess what I want to start with by saying is we're the operator, but we see ourselves as much more than the operator, because we've been advocating for rural transportation since 1996. I've done presentations to councils all over this region. I've attended municipal associations, spoke about rural transportation. I've lobbied BC Transit. I was active in Merritt before they were starting up their system, asked to come in and present to them. So, and probably most of you have been in this room, have been in this area for quite some time. So we remember when Greyhound pulled out of Quebec, not to mention the more recent, complete application of their service, pulled out of Lillooet as well too. So they had no public transportation system as of 2001, right? That was one of the reasons we started really trying to advocate for some of the other communities. So we're a not-for-profit organization. We like to see that we do a pretty good, have a pretty substantial role in daycares, as we do at the hub. We have early services, transportation, of course, we provide other things as well too. So I wanted to just really be clear that this is not about us having a vested interest. Our interest, transportation generally, and rural communities broadly, improving services, bringing services in, and I could be candid, I'm probably being recorded. What I'd like to do is we have been pulling services out of Kamloops and putting them in the communities, as opposed to people rubber on the road, driving back and forth. That's been our model. It's been our model for quite a number of years. So again, self-serving, that we're just trying to retain the contract. But I'll go to the contract part as well. And I'm kind of glad because I was in Clearwater today. I was at the council meeting. There was a presentation by BC Transit, and it's difficult. And Mayor Roden, I think you've heard the same presentation at the TNRD. You've also heard me speak a little bit about this issue. So Thursday when I'm there, it'll be the third time, so you get to bear with me, I hope. But it was so difficult to listen to, frankly, of just language. And I'm going to hate to say this, but word salad. There was just not a lot of meaning to, especially the why part of it. Because in our opinion, there's only three reasons why you would reorganize something. You want to reduce costs, you want to increase efficiency, or you want to put more bums in seats. And that's it. You know, those are should be your three primary things: services, cost effectiveness, and efficiencies. So let's go back to when we were asked to come in and take on the system. And I don't know if, how many people around the council were aware, but the service was ready to collapse, literally ready to collapse. It was losing money. We came in within the first year. There was a $20,000 surplus that was able to go into reserves for purchase of a new bus. First time ever. So I was listing some of the things that we, some of the changes that we made in consultation with, the CAO and mayor and councils of the day. So we introduced an 800 number. We brought in, the drivers had a cell phone, so there was a safety issue. There was nothing like that happening before. We collected all the fares and we gave it to the village of Ashcroft. Trust me, that didn't happen previously. Those fare dollars were used for maintenance and repairs, and they're not supposed to be used for that. There's a contract for that. Those fares were supposed to have gone to the village to offset the village costs. We did regular maintenance, so we weren't blowing up engines as the previous operator had happened. We worked with the Ashcroft Council to look at bringing in new funders, more funders, reduce costs for everybody. We worked with Wendy trying to bring Cash Creek back into it. The convincing was if the costs had been lowered, if the system was improved, Cash Creek was likely to come back into it. Time Director Rice at Spencer's Bridge came into the system as well too. So those all helped to reduce the cost overall for everybody. So we took some of those initiatives. We were part of the Transit Committee, and I'm not even sure, Mayor Roden, if it's the Transit Committee that continues to function and meet. It does, okay. And one of the things that when we came in we saw wasn't evident is the introduction of special trips. And what those special trips are is taking seniors around Christmas lights to do special trips for community organizations. There's no what's the term I'm trying to think of? There's no leasing company that leases 20-seat passenger buses. You can take people on various outings for it. So we do that a lot in Clearwater. We do that in Lillooet. We do that in Ashcroft. So it wasn't in place when we took over, but we introduced that. So just catch my breath there for a second, because I'm trying to get this into a 10-minute thing. So when I look at the proposal by BC Transit, and today in particular, they highlighted a couple things which I need to respond to you about. One of the things they talked about was improved mechanical stuff. We created a lovely system. We have buses, Lillooet, Health Connections, here, Clearwater Barrier going into Kamloops. We switch buses, and we take the other bus back to get all the maintenance work done. There's no extra driver time. There's no extra costs. We're just doing the switch because we're all meeting at a certain time. Very efficient. There was a time when we were having a mechanic shop. We asked BC Transit if we could use the Kamloops bus depot where they do all their maintenance, which, by the way, is owned by BC Transit. And the response was, no, you can't do that. So we've tried to do these things, and now what they talk about is that one of the advantages is you've got one mechanic shop looking after all the buses. We have worked hard to keep rubber on the road. There's a 2-bus system. The second spare is in Lillooet if the bus breaks down here. We've argued about having a 3rd bus here. We actually were going to buy our own bus. We did that for Clearwater. We operated the bus ourselves, so that there was a time when and they were breaking down, but we kept rubber on the road. We kept moving people. That's our job, and we tried to do it pretty well. So, how much time do I have left? By the way, keep going. Okay. So,
If no one else to speak.
Okay. So one of the things we've really sensitive, because we live and work we know that there's a burden for taxpayers. We know intimately the challenges that rural communities have, their councils have. It's a huge issue. So we're not here to raise your costs. So you may not have heard this yet, everyone, in various presentations if you were at the TNRD. But the question was asked by Councillor Sim today because all they talked about was efficiencies which is, again, it's just word salad, right? It's got nothing to do with the reality. Because we've been saying to Mayor Blackwell and others, there's no question the costs are going to go up. They have to go up. So that's going to result in a more of a cost share to the local governments. 20 to 30% increase for your share. 20 to 30% on top of what you pay currently. Now why would you introduce that doesn't put any extra hours of service in place and raises the cost by 20 to 30%? And I will give you the answer. You may not have had the same experience we have. I think you have your regional manager person is Elise. Previously it was Chelsea Mosey. And I think Chelsea's on a mat leave. We've had 5, years ago there used to be one regional. Now they separate, one for the local government, one for the operators. We've had 5 since 2019. We take a year to train them and they leave. So we don't get any support from BC Transit. We're kind of flying on our own a little bit. I mean, we've got a lot of experience. We've got 30 some years experience. But, we try to work with our local partners, how to improve the service, maybe change stops, do whatever. But we don't get any support from BC Transit. And it's profound, that they would say this system is going to work better when what they've been doing so far their support has been abysmal. And in our opinion, that's why this change is coming about. Not about efficiencies, not about improved service. It's to manage their inability to retain and recruit employees. That's what we think is happening. So they're trying to fix their problem by shrinking the number of operators and contractors by passing that cost onto you in the village of Clearwater. And we all know about downloading, and this is just one of those kind of indirect ways. Well, maybe it's not so indirect if the contract goes up. So we heard today about the 20 to 30%. So one of the other things too, which again I'm just sort of jumping all over the place, the board of directors of BC Transit, which if in the first iteration of probably PowerPoints you may have received, was that they approved this in February. The board approved this in February. The board consists of 4 members from Victoria. They don't have an operator. BC Transit runs the Victoria system. Smithers is the only person outside of the Lower Mainland. Smithers, the municipality, operates their own system. And the other 2 are from the TransLink area. So there's no representation on this board from the larger part of the province, which is where all of BC Transit, happens. So it's just stunning that this board, would approve this. But the bottom line is that I don't want to say that. Anyway, the board gave its stamp of approval, and the board, in our opinion, needs to be changed. There needs to be representation from the interior and the north of BC. You can't just, which maybe brings to the next point, Liz, is that these systems, every time BC Transit brings in a change, what it is doing is it's sending it through a filter of a Kamloops, Kelowna, or Nanaimo system. It's not filtering it through what it's like to run service in an Ashcroft, Clearwater, Lillooet. Because we have large geographical areas. We have small populations. There's not the density. You don't have a straight line route that picks up 6 high-rises in Burnaby along the TransLink line and brings them downtown. We don't have that. What we have is very disparate populations, geographical areas, and very small populations. And to try to figure out but yet people need to be moved around. I mean, I look at just recently, I was just after I met with you the last time, Mayor Roden, and I was leaving and went to the grocery store, and I saw the bus full of people from, getting back on the bus with their groceries. I think they were coming down from Clinton, and Clinton is very happy with the way, things are working. So one of the things that should have been happening that we've advocated for a long time is that you got to use a different funding formula for the rural areas, and you can't expect that we're going to be looking at similar types of math issues around riders and bums in seats. The cost of moving that small a population in large areas is going to be a lot more than it is going to be in Vancouver. It's an economy of scale issue. So, but they don't recognize it. They pay lip service to it, but they don't recognize every change that they have brought in. They took Health Connections away from us, gave it to a company out of Prince George that brings an empty bus down all the way, Highway 5 into Kamloops. They and our drivers would see this bus going down all the time empty. And yet our Tuesday, Thursdays, which they took the funding from the Health Connections, we were running into Kamloops twice a week, almost full. And so just the decision they make, they went into a type of invoicing system that was all basically computer driven. We used to be on a fixed contract and we stayed in the goalposts. We didn't have a choice. Sometimes we subsidized it. They went to this new system, costs go up. So every time they bring about a change, it's again through the lens of what works in Victoria, what works in Kelowna, not through what works here. I'll try not to bore you with too many other details, but let me just talk briefly about 2017 when the fires hit. And you remember our driver, Lise? So she was heading out of town. Pastures got freaked out. She came back. She was heading up to Clinton. Pastures got freaked out. She brought him back. She was heading back again. Went to they basically stopped her. Went to the hospital. So the bus evacuated everybody. She was on the road until 2 a.m. By the time they got everybody loaded up here, over to Merritt, over to, and then she had to go to Campbell's because she couldn't get back. I was on the phone to Chelsea, right at noon because I heard it on the news. I live at Green Lake, by the way, so I heard what had happened. And so I'm just making sure that Lisa's okay and we're going to get things going and get people out of it. That's priority one. Priority one is evacuate, move people that need to be evacuated. So we did that. 2 days later, the rat-a-tat-tat in the interior, everything else lit up. Remember? The whole interior. We had 3 fires in Little Fort. 99 was closed, 1 was closed, 97 was closed. They're all closed. We're in Clearwater, and we got a hospital that we evacuated in 2003. And BC Transit is saying to us, well, we lost a vehicle or two in Williams Lake. We want you to move those Clearwater vehicles out of there. We said, well, we can't do that. Oh, yes, you can. You need to get them to Kamloops. And I basically, I kind of dug in. I said, well, I'm just dragging my feet for a bit. Phoned our MLA, Terry Lake, who phoned the Minister of Transportation. Who in turn phoned BC Transit, said back off. A week later, Transit phoned me and told me to move the buses again. It tells me 2 things. One is that there's no accountability for BC Transit. They're not accountable to anybody. And when their minister phones them and tells them to back off, and they agree, and then ignore it a week later, I mean, you have to think about that for a minute, what that really means as a Crown Corp. And it's the same thing with this. So when I saw this, again, for the second time, the presentation today, and the continuing going back to, we're going to consult with you. We made a mistake by our poor communication. Well, it was more than a mistake, and I've been to a lot of rodeos. I've been around this system of governments and downsizing, and never seen anything as poorly as this, okay? They said, communication, we apologize for that, which was said today, the consultation. And I was thinking on my way here, I can imagine now going to a First Nations community and said, well, by the way, decision about some of your resource rights. And here's the way it's going to be. And we've made the plan. We're going to implement it on such a date. Now let's do a consultation. Like you would be in court fast. Your head would spin. And that's essentially what was said today at that council meeting, is that basically they said, here's the plan. It's already been decided. We're not sharing the information or the reasons for the change, because there had to have been a document previous to this, but we're not going to share that regarding efficiency, cost reductions, and improved ridership. But now let's do a consultation. I mean, I just think it's insulting.
Was this presentation today?
Today in Clearwater.
From BC Transit.
BC Transit, yeah. And the person was there in person. The last time was doing it by Zoom, which I thought, well, at least you should go there, talk to the council. Anyway, it was, it's been profoundly disappointing and insulting. As an operator, we've been doing this for 30 years in Clearwater, here for 12. We have not been asked once our input. I mean, it again speaks to the lack of accountability. We don't have to consult with you. As a funding partner, 40% of the system, they didn't consult with you prior to making this decision. And this consultation process is a sham. They've already made the decision. All they've done is push the time deadline to 2025. So I'm getting a little worked up after by listening to things today. So I'll just maybe stop and just see if people have any questions they may want to ask.
Thank you.
And I apologize for maybe getting a bit charged up or
No,
emotional.
that's okay. It's a vital system. I've had meetings, there was a Zoom meeting with Minister Fleming, was the Minister of Transportation. He was still Minister of Transportation at the time. It was this summer, but he'd already announced he was not running again in the next election. It was no longer to be Minister of Transportation, so, okay, that's nice. He wanted to know if the bus in Clearwater was used by students commuting to TRU. And he meant on a daily basis, like if you lived in Surrey, you'd use the bus to commute to SFU or UBC. And he was explained to him that no, it's not that kind of a transit system. After the BC Transit presented to the TNRD, we have written a letter to them and inviting them to please come to our community and our communities that they are proposing this for, to see what transit looks like here. Because Mayor Ranta, myself, CEO Dick, CEO Doddridge from Clinton, met with BC Transit at UBCM, and we basically said, whatever you picture when you picture a transit system, that's not what we have. Because they're picturing transit systems in Victoria, in Vancouver, in Surrey. So we've invited them to come here and see what our transit system looks like, so they can get some idea of it. We have spoken about not wanting to lose our driver's lease. Of course, at the time she was driving those people to Merritt from our hospital, from long-term care from Jackson House, I believe at that point she knew she had lost her home in Boston Flats. She did. Yeah. So that's the kind of dedicated drivers we have, who put the service and the people. So thank you for that.
Can I just add something to that? Yeah. She
is operating the system in Kamloops at the moment, already is the regional operator for two other systems that have been regionalized in the province.
That's the one you're talking about.
I'm not sure. There was one on the island, I believe.
Yeah.
That it's Transdev is the operator there, and one other, and then they operate the Kamloops system right now. So they are talking about amalgamating the bus systems in Merritt, Kamloops, Clearwater, and ours into one regionalized. I think they're regretting the use of the word regionalized because it brings up unhappy thoughts of regionalization of health care, and we all know how well that's used.
That's the reality. That's what will happen. You won't have a system in 5 years. It'll be too pricey.
Ease of management,
But
it's
their efficiency.
their ease of management. Whether I don't know how efficient they'll be, because I often hold their feet to the fire as far as if we lose this, it becomes so much harder to have a reasonable system which works for rural.
And I think I believe them when they say that they're not planning on changing the service. What I do see happening is it being priced out of our reach.
Yeah. Right.
And we lose the service that way. So that then they can say, we didn't cancel it.
Yeah.
It's still there if you
Yeah.
want to pay for it.
And that's a contract with somebody. They wanted to retain that experience and that local knowledge of people that were doing it. And that's what they did. That's not what's being talked about.
Any questions or comments? All right. Now it says here that you are looking for a letter of support and recommendation. Do you have the details of what you are looking for? We don't make decisions
I know
about delegations at this meeting, but
Yeah.
If
So I
have
did
something
write
to
down actually what I thought one is firstly that there'd be an immediate end to the regionalization process, so call it what you will. First thing. Secondly, that there's recommendation that there'll be a review of the Board of Governors to include more regional rural representation. There was a review of BC Transit leadership. There is a review of the annualized funding formula to reflect rural demographics and geographical challenges. You know, this is not a cookie cutter. We're not the same as Victoria or Kelowna. We don't have the same density. So those would be my recommendations, if you can support that.
all right, thank you very much. Would you be able to put that in an email to CAO Dick?
I would certainly be able
Thank you so much.
to, and I'll be asking the same recommendations to the TNRD Thursday as well too.
Last chance for questions. All right, thank you very much, Jack,
Thank
for
you,
coming by.
appreciate your time.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
Thank you so much.
You don't have to be polite and stay for the rest of the meeting.
I know, I got to
All right, we move on to number 4, public input. Any public input, members of the public? No, they're busy talking amongst themselves. Anything out there on Facebook, please? No? All right, we move on to number 5, bylaws policies. We have permissive tax 871/2024.
I'm just going to recuse myself because I'm in conflict of interest as one of the employees of one of the properties.
Thank you. All right. So, permissive tax exemption number 871/2024, looking for final adoption. Councillor Lambert.
I move that permissive tax exemption bylaw number 871/2024 be adopted.
Thank you. Second. Councillor Davenport, thank you. Are there any discussion? No. On the question, then all those in favor? No one opposed, that is carried. Director Bennett was hardly worth the walk. We'll just wait a moment. The Get Smart code of silence.
Did you second that?
Yes, Councillor Davenport seconded that. Oh, good, the air conditioning's on. Awesome.
I I'll just put on my jacket, my parka.
Exactly. All right, staff report 6.1.
Thank you.
We have a report from CAO Dick, Interior Community Services Better at Home Facility Use Request. This is a revised date and time from the one we saw at our last meeting. And they'd like to start with one day and then see how it goes. Councillor Clement.
I will move that council approve the amended request from Interior Community Services Better at Home for free facility use of the community hall on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for seniors walking program with the option to expand the program to additional dates if necessary.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lambert seconds that. Any discussion? As I said, this will expand if needed. All right, CFO Bella.
Worship, I have on page 11, the first line reads, however, the proposed time conflicted with long-standing booking by Yogi Club.
By the Yogi Club.
Oh, I noticed that too, yeah. You had your own club.
It's his fan club. They meet twice a week at the community hall.
And you always don't show up. There
They're still waiting.
I said boo.
All right, any more comments? You can't top of that one, so we're gonna move straight to the vote. All those in favor? No one opposed, that is carried. All right, for information, we have 3 reports. First of all, we have the Legacy Park year-end report. Always sad to see how the disasters affect our region. So obviously very noticeable this year. Anything to add to the report, Director Benowith or CFO Bella?
No.
No? Okay. And the same managers are planning on coming back next year? All right, then the next report is from the museum. Again, same thing, affected by the smoke, the fires, the road closures. Anything to add here? Any questions here? Councillor Lambert.
Not a question, but it's just a comment, how it still hasn't come back to what it was before COVID. You know, it's so sad.
And this year too, I know that, I have my vantage point right there beside the museum. So on weekends, I do see, especially on Saturdays, the people who come here here to Ashcroft and it's closed. I mean, I see people pull up in their cars and then I see them a minute later drive away. So I'm assuming that they were planning on going to the museum this past summer and it was closed. No fault of anyone's, just that it's the way it went. So I think it does show the importance of working on that piece of the puzzle to get the museum open at weekends, because that is when a lot of tourists come here, especially in the height of summer. In the shoulder season, people tend to travel more at different times of the week. And in the height of summer, you get people making day trips, going to Desert Hills.
Yeah.
They come up into town. So.
So we had a challenge with the, getting the summer student consistent basis. If we have the same challenge with our, we were having discussions about time. Maybe it doesn't open Monday to Friday, it opens Tuesday to Saturday, or different time as in the report. Later time was also noticed. There were a lot of people coming when it was just closing.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
So, but Peter would be flexible and still take them around after hours per se. But things like that we can do to kind of balance it out.
Rather than a summer student employee, not necessarily a student, would we have better luck if we hired someone just during the summer? Maybe someone who's a bit older, because I know it has been an issue with students sometimes.
That could be something we discuss, but it was created as a summer student job to help school students get employment in communities.
And maybe we just need to be a bit more flexible, that if we maybe our first try should be for a student, and then if we can't, we leave ourselves the flexibility of finding someone else, because that might be something that a retired person might like to do for the summertime, not necessarily the shoulder season, sort of April, May, and September, October, just during the height of the summer to keep it open.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
There are other programs out there through Work BC, wage subsidy, that type of thing. You could take advantage of.
Okay, and then the third and final one is the pool end of season report. Any questions or comments about that? Director Bennett.
Your Worship Council, I'd just like to say throughout all these reports that I'd like to especially thank our employees through our summer programs. There was quite a few that are affected during this fire and continue to work and do it faithfully and all the rest, and it hasn't gone unnoticed, and would like to mention a thank you to our summer staff.
Oh, Peter and Nandini especially, pool manager, museum manager, hugely impacted by the Shetland Creek wildfire up in Venables Valley. And yeah, thank you to them for just continuing. I mean, I was really surprised to see Peter at work like the next day. Like I got to the journal office and was expecting to see a closed sign on the museum, and no, he was there.
Wow.
He apologized for eating tomatoes out of the garden bed because he hadn't brought a lunch. I'm like, help yourself to the tomatoes, please. Nice about the aquafit too. I mean, I know that that's been really popular. It'd be nice if we could find someone for that. You know, a dedicated aquafit person, because I know how popular that is. I guess the thing would be just finding the time to do it, because I know that sometimes when it's offered, at least one night, it's instead of the lane swim or whatever it's called, adults. It used to be adult swim. All right, any other comments? All right, action. SILGA, Local Government Asset Management into Seminar. The Yogi Fan Club will definitely be there for this one, I would think. Do any council members wish to attend this seminar, which is in Kamloops? I think just leave it up to council members if they want to be first. Let staff know that you're interested in going, maybe by the end of this week, just so they can get the numbers.
Yeah.
All right.
Will there be a video of this?
Your Worship, hecklers are forbidden from coming.
Hecklers are forbidden for coming. People will be frisked for fruit and vegetables at the door. All right. Information, we have TNRD, 50 years of literacy, learning, and community with the TNRD Library. There's a special event on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, all day in Kamloops. All TNRD libraries will be closed tomorrow, so the staff have an opportunity to attend. And then there are 50th anniversary events coming up. I believe Ashcroft is on the 26th of October, and there will be 25th. Cache Creek is the day before on the 24th. There will be special events at both libraries for the 50th anniversary of the TNRL and various incarnations it's had over the last 50 years. It started off as partnership with the Caribou Regional District, so it was covered 50,000 square miles, not kilometers. And Lunar Sway filming that has finished. That's a feature film expected to be released next year into theaters. In the meantime, if anyone remembers the filming of Bulletproof here with Vinnie Jones, there is a sequel to it called Get Fast. I won't tell you a spoiler for the first film, but Mr. Jones is not back. Lou Diamond Phillips is the star of Get Fast. It was filmed 100% in this region. And it is being released on streaming platforms on November 15th. But Terry Hadwin, the film commissioner, is arranging with the filmmakers to have a public showing in Cache Creek. Oh, so hopefully the filmmakers will also, it's the same man who wrote, directed, starred in, and produced the first film is doing all four on the second film. And they're hoping to get him at the screening in Cache Creek to answer questions from the audience.
Excellent.
She described it as a high-octane thriller. So there you go.
Okay.
All right, task manager. Any questions on the task manager? No.
It's nice to see all the green.
All the green. That's right. Okay, and then we have the street safety working group. We have meeting notes, and we have a couple of motions arising out of that meeting. So I'd like to move that the council direct staff to submit a grant application to Vision Zero to leverage the cost of purchasing 2 LED variable solar radar speed signs and the installation of 2 speed bumps on Ranch Road as a traffic calming measure for the safety of students, pedestrians, and cyclists.
I'll second.
Councillor Lambert, thank you. Any discussion on this? Councillor Anstey?
Oh, discussion, sorry.
Discussion?
Sorry. No.
Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. And we have a second motion. Councillor Coleman.
I'll move that council direct staff to 15-minute parking stalls on 3rd Street, 1 in front of the bakery and 2 in front of the liquor store.
Thank you. Second. Councillor Davenport, discussion. Any discussion on this?
Hopefully it'll work, like hopefully it'll, instead of people parking there forever, in and
All right, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? That is carried. Council reports. Just a mention that, of course, we do have our traffic survey up. I've had a couple of people ask me if it's only for people in the village. No, it's for anyone who is affected. Because I had a couple of people who have done Rattlesnake Roadway come to me today and have a chat about a couple of issues, and I said, please take the survey. Yeah, because it affects you. So that is open until I believe the 31st of October.
Yeah.
People can take the survey, and it is not available online. You can get you can either download a form off the website or off the website, or you can come into the office and get a paper copy.
Did we have a lot of people at the barbecue film? Good response, yeah?
The box are pretty full.
Yeah, that's good.
A couple of people come up to me, and anyone who comes up to me and talks about it, I tell them, please fill out the survey, or at the very least send an email,
Yeah.
something, because coming up and talking to me is not as effective as writing it down, and so we have it in writing. And as for reports, that's about it, just the library things that are coming up, so it'd be nice to have, we've had hundreds of people turn out, they've already had 2 or 3 throughout the TNRD, because they're going to all the branches, so they've already had quite a few people turn out at the ones where they've had them so far. So. Anyone else have anything to report? All right, we have no need to move to a closed meeting. We've got no resolutions released from a closed meeting, so we are adjourned.